So who can invest? Is it just certain people who can invest? Well, today we're going to be talking to a really good friend of mine who is going to talk about her experience, her and her husband's experience about investing. As you know, we have this monthly workshop, and in the last couple of months, we've had an opportunity to talk about investments in a very technical way. We've had an attorney last month, and then before that, we had a financial advisor talking about the technical stuff about investing. But it's so good to hear stories of people who have actually done it and have had and have succeeded in it. So for those of you on video who haven't met, that we haven't had the pleasure to meet, my name is Silvia Escobar. Arturo and I are realtors. Our team is called Escobar Homes team, and we have Medardo, who is also on our team, and we work with Keller Williams, and we talk about, we get to help people buy and sell their homes, reach their goals, their real estate goals, and in some cases, as we're going to hear today, in investing property so that they can reach their financial goals. It's one of the ways that people do that is through real estate investing. And Araceli, thank you for being here. And thank you for the opportunity. I think you're on mute right now.
There.
Oh, great.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so actually, I would love to hear, we would love to hear your story, and I'll give you some time to just, if you can give us some background on who you guys are. I think the goal for today is to help people understand that anybody can invest. And so we would like to hear a little bit about your story and how actually I can relate to you, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners will be able to relate to you. So take it away.
Thank you. Well, my name is Araceli, as Silva said. I am currently married to Peter, and we have 3 kids. When we, going back, my mother came to the U.S. in January of 1990, and then she brought all of her kids, one at a time. My turn was in June of 1990. That's when they brought me here in a bus, and then I lived in California for several years. I lived there, then I went to Idaho. From Idaho, I came to Chicago in 99. This is where I met my husband. My husband was brought to the US when he was 13 in 1989. And he wasn't brought here like most kids to go to school and learn the language and all that fun stuff. He actually came here to work because the idea back in his town was that kids 13 and 14, they go to the US, they work, and they send the money back home. So that's why he came. He started chopping onions and all that stuff in like these Chinese restaurants that would hit him in the back of the restaurant because he was a minor. And that's basically how he missed out on the schooling and all that stuff. We met in 2000. I started working with him. He was already a wood finisher. We meet, and we started dating a couple of years later. In 2003, we decided to move in together and start a business. Peter's Wood Refinishing started 2003. I get pregnant with my first child, whose name's Denise. She's almost 18. We are looking into that whole university stuff now, but 2004, she's born. We are already a year into the business, and we had to get going with the baby. So I decided to stay home for a while to stay with the kid, and things didn't go well. Our financial situation was getting worse and worse every time, to the point where there's an interview that we have with it's a Christian channel, and we shared there that when my daughter was 1, we didn't have enough money for diapers. She had to be potty trained at 1 in a few months because we just couldn't afford diapers. 2005, that Christmas was just horrible. We didn't have food. We didn't have anything on Christmas Eve. For Hispanics, our Christmas is on Christmas Eve.
Mhm.
That's when we celebrate. That's when we have the whole dinner and everything. We didn't have anything. People weren't inviting us. One of my sister-in-laws, she came to visit the baby, and she brought her $20 as a gift.
Mm.
And that was just what we used for dinner. And that night we decided, well, we need to do something because we can't continue like this. And sure enough, we started calling around. We had friends, we had people that we knew, and we started calling around. That first Monday of 2006, we were able to put the baby in the daycare, and we just took off. We started working very hard, saving everything that we could. And that same year, June 2006, we started looking for our first home and saved everything that we could to put together those first $10,000 that they said we needed for a closing cost. At that point, everyone could buy a house, and it was just really easy to do it if you had a job, and well, you
Mhm.
had closing money. And
Mhm.
August, we bought our first property. It was a small 1.5 story. We made it ours. We continued to work, and 2008 came, where the economy came down, and it was just hard because at that point, we had one kid, we had a house. The one thing I do gotta say, we continued to making our payments, and we continued to fixing the house. And I think that's where it all started, because we had a goal.
Mhm.
And
Yeah. And so it's so interesting to hear when your story, and by the way, for our listeners, if you understand Spanish, the reason we didn't play the video is because it is in Spanish. But if you understand Spanish, this video is going to be going out to over 700 people. And so you will have both versions in the emails that we send out in the newsletter. And so then you can take a look at it in Spanish, because it's an amazing story, and they did a really good job of telling your story. But in the video, you talk about this change of mindset, where the way you used to spend to the way you spent later. And really, that's kind of part of the process. If you could speak in a little bit about that process for being able to save so that you could invest. Can you share a little bit about that?
absolutely. So the way we were living at that time was we would spend the money before it came in, and we were spending more than we were making. When we understood that if we changed that, if we could have a budget and hold ourselves back from what we wanted and stick with what we needed and focus on what we had as a goal, that's where everything changed,
Mhm.
because we weren't the spenders. Now we were trying to save, to have this, first home. And that's really what we wanted to do at the time. And we needed to work for it. But yeah, that night we had this tough conversation where it's like, what are we doing? We were both good at what we did. We
Mhm.
just weren't taking our administration, and just our spending habits were terrible.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, so from the time that you made the decision to change the way you spent and to actually have a budget, right? From the time that you made that decision to the time that you were able to invest for your first home, how much time passed?
It was about, by the time we got the house, it was probably about 8 months,
About
from
8 months.
December through August.
Okay, that's amazing, because that's amazingly quick. And I think people are in different places. So some people have a lot of debt, and some people have less debt. Some people have no debt, but they just can't get ahead. And so depending on where you are, it might take you a little more, it might take you a little less. But I love that required, I'm sure that required some discipline. Can you tell me a little bit about what that kind of discipline it required?
Absolutely. Peter can't have soy food anymore. because we would buy those bags of soy food,
Mm,
and I would make tacos, just that meat all the time. I mean, that's what we did to
mhm,
save up. And yeah, at that time, our daughter wasn't on diapers anymore, so there was a little bit of savings. And the one thing that we reduced was our car. Before this night, we had a brand new Lincoln that we couldn't afford, and the bank came and they took it. So
mm,
after that, we put a little bit of money together and we got a minivan. It was only like $3,000, but we didn't have. It was an older minivan. It ran. It had air conditioner and heater. That's all we needed, and
mhm,
we didn't have a car payment. So that alone saved us a lot of money because we couldn't afford the Lincoln. We
mm,
had it, but we couldn't afford it. So once we got that out of the way, then we were able to save on a lot of stuff.
mhm. That's
Mhm.
good. Can you tell us a little bit about why there's so many different ways of investing, and even like saving, right? Some people just take all of their earnings or their profits and they save them. You chose to go into investing in real estate. Why did you make that decision as a couple to invest in real estate as opposed to like, putting it in stocks and bonds or anything like that? What was it about real estate that caught your attention?
Well, I work with lots of, people. I go to people's homes all the time, and I talk to doctors and all sorts of people, and we have lots of friends in real estate. And at the beginning of our story, somebody said you can't go wrong with bricks. And so we figured, with economy and inflation and all that stuff, whatever we could have in real estate, whatever equity we could have there, it would be a long term saving dash investing for our kids. And again, at the time we only had one, but now we have three and a dog. So we really need to, we needed to speed it up. And we actually didn't get our second house till 2014.
Mhm,
Remember I said the economy came down, and we went back, we struggled some more, and then it was later that we were able to start again and start saving. In 2014 we got our second home, and that was a cash investment, a cash purchase, and it was just from the savings from over the time.
okay.
So it did take a while.
So it did take a while. Yeah, that's good. And so how many properties have you invested in total up to now?
Let's see. Well, we got our second property 2014. Then we got another one in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
We sold that 2020. We fixed it up. We spent 3 years, almost 3 years fixing it, all of our savings, and whatever we wanted to save would go into that building, and we remodeled everything. 2020 we sold it. 2020 we bought another one, which we had for 2 years. And then 2021 we also sold the second. We purchased a property and we sold the property. So it hasn't been that many, but it's been a process, and with every property we've learned, and we've been able to save money because a lot of Peter does some of the work. I do all the designing and all that stuff. We do hire people for like electricity, plumbing, things that are supposed to be hired out to licensed contractors.
Yeah.
So that we do believe in not taking shortcuts, getting permits, and getting the right person for the right job.
Mhm.
So
It
that's
pays off in the long run, right? To do things the right
yeah.
way
Oh yeah, absolutely.
pays off in the long run. So I've seen your family at the place, at your investment property, cleaning and doing some work and getting the place ready. And so I know that at times it's a whole family affair because everyone is involved. Your girls are there and they're working as well. And I think that's great. What a great way to also spend time together with the same goal in mind. So, and I know that your oldest is now getting ready you guys are already talking about college and making plans for that. And what a great opportunity. I think I think that sometimes when we've had experiences where we didn't know where the food was going to come from, where we didn't know, how we were going to afford some of the bare necessities, right? Not so much the wants, but even just the needs. And we don't know where it's going to come from. It makes us appreciate so much more the blessing of not having to worry about food, not having to worry about, and even something like college, that there are some resources that we can have for our family, and the opportunity to give them. Last month, we talked about generational wealth and the importance of having this generational wealth. Your girls are so much ahead of the game than even you were when you started, right? Can you tell me a little bit about what do you think where they are in their ideas about the things that you do?
Yeah, they do have chores. They need to earn their money, which I think it's very important because it's very easy to spoil kids. And yeah, it's like, what do you do? My oldest, it's a great example for the smaller ones. She is going away to university next year, and she wants to. She's going to School of Business. School
Mhm.
of Business. Her passion is fashion, designing, makeup, hair. That's really what she likes, and she's already getting her certification at DuPage College during her senior year. Uh,
Mhm. Wow.
and she says, this is what I want to do. This is what I love doing. But in order for me to have my own business, this is what I need to learn. So
Mhm.
that's why her major is going to be business, and then her minor is going to be marketing. And she has seen that my university, I've only have a couple semesters of college. My university has been live, and I paid a long, I paid my price. So my university has been way too expensive, and she understands that. They acknowledge that. And so now that they have the opportunity, they cherish, they just want to. Yes, you're right. They are definitely ahead of the game. In my case, I want to help as much as I can, but I'm also letting them learn so that they can just go and experience on their own.
Mhm. Yeah, that's great. That's really great. Let's say someone is going to be listening to this video and they don't know where to start. Where would you suggest that they start? How could they start thinking about this in a more serious way? What would you suggest that they start with?
Well, first of all, I would say look at where you're really standing. Look at your situation. Where are your expenses going? How much income are you bringing in? You shouldn't be spending more than you're making, first of all. And so you might have to let go of things that you really like doing. It's only for a short period of time. So really put down your budget and stick to it, and just assure that you're saving for
Mhm.
what you want. Make a plan, have that goal, and don't listen to people that are not where you want to be. So
Mhm.
always look for a coach, look for people that are where you are, and look for a coach and just ask questions. Like I said before, I work with all sorts of people, people that are retired doctors, attorneys, and I ask a lot of questions. And I just love talking to people that know a lot. Like you say, there's a lot of things that I don't know that I don't know that I don't know.
Mhm.
And so asking questions and just looking for the people that know, and just be straight up friends. Like, I don't know this. How can I start? How can I do this? But first of all, start your budget, stick to it, start saving, and just focus on your goal.
Mhm. That's great. And I love that and the 700th Club, you said it's a Christian organization. They interviewed you, and one of the things that you said in your video was the idea of being generous. And I can testify, you may not say it yourself, but I can testify that you and your husband are very generous. And it's something that I we've talked about before on this workshop, in these workshops, is that, money is good for the good it can do. And sometimes people are afraid, they have misconceptions about what money is and whether it's good or whether it's evil. What are your thoughts on money? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I am 100% convinced that money is just an object. It's a resource.
Mhm.
And long time ago, I talk about long time ago. Like, I'm still really young. I'm only 41. So for me, long time ago, it's 10, 15 years ago. Somebody told me that money is like a magnifying glass. And if you're a good person, money will be good because it will reflect in your life. If you're not a good person, then money will be a bad thing because that would just magnify who you are. So money is as good or as bad as your heart. If
Mm,
your heart is a good heart, you can bet that money will be a blessing to those that need it, or in general.
mhm. That's good. And Dave Ramsey says that it's like a brick, and the brick in the hand of a person is neither good or bad. It's the person who decides whether they're going to take the brick and throw it through a window or they're going to take the brick and build a hospital, right? And so it's so important to be able to see that about money, to both, if you look at money negatively, to be able to bring it back to, well, no, it's amoral, as you say. No, it's neither good nor bad. And then if you also think that it's the answer to everything, it's not, because it magnifies just who you are. And so it's neither extreme. It's kind of just what it is. It's an opportunity to do good and to take care of your family and to provide and to leave a legacy and to leave generational wealth for your family. And it's something that you're working on, and we're all trying to work on. And so Araceli, is there anything else that maybe I didn't ask you that you would like to say, or something that you would like to just share with our audience?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Two things. One is that I was not always generous. I came from a broken family, parents divorced when I was 5. So to me, when I had something, I wanted to hold on to it.
Mm,
And Peter was always like really open handed and just take it away, really generous. And I remember one day in a class, and the pastor was praying, and he said something. The gift of generosity comes with the gift of um, pro. I know how to say it in Spanish.
mhm.
De producir, to produce.
Yes. Mhm.
And I remember listening to those words, and in my heart, I was saying, I want to be generous, and I intentionally got it as part of my life. I
Mm,
had to be, I had to start off being very intentional with that.
mhm.
So it's something that you can get there if
Yes.
you really, if you have that desire. But I think it's part of us as humans to be
Mhm.
to us in our nature. Like
Yeah.
I said, we were, you know,
Mhm.
that's basically how I grew up. If I had something, I would hold on to it.
Yeah.
I had to learn to let go.
Yeah.
And then, yeah. And the second thing would be that a lot of people think that because we are in the business, or that we are investing, and that we're talking about budgets and goals, and this is all of our life. And I can tell you that the most important thing is to balance out your life. Right now, this is what we're talking about, investing and everything. But I can assure you that we have worked very hard on balancing out our life to where we have time with our kids, we have time for work, we have time for us as a couple. Peter's really good about that. Like during lunchtime, we'll go eat lunch together, or he'll meet me at a place, and then at a meeting, and then from there we'll go out and do something, or even if it's just ice cream.
Mhm.
So as long as we know that this is where we want to be, and we're not focused just on money, because it wouldn't do good to have millions of dollars if you don't have a healthy and a happy family. So it
Excellent.
is very important that we're taking that time for God, for family, and of course for business and for ourselves.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. That's a very important part of this whole conversation. That again, money is not the answer. It's just a tool, right?
Yes, tool. Mhm.
A tool to get to where we want to be. So that's awesome. Thank you, Araceli. Thank you so much for this time. Thank you for spending time with us and answering some questions. Information will be in the video. Once we get the video out to everyone, it'll be down below to contact you guys if anyone is interested in doing. This is interesting. We had this conversation before we started about your business, and you guys deal with mostly antiques and really expensive. Explain it to me, please.
So yeah, some pieces are very expensive, some
Mhm.
are not, but they have lots of worth to people. We're talking about old furniture that belonged to the mom or the grandma, or the couple got 50 years ago when they were first married. So it has value to them. And then we also work in historic homes. We do many of the bungalows.
Mhm.
So basically, we're wood refinishers. We restore wood. Our
Mhm.
slogan is "Save a tree, restore your wood," because of what we do.
That's nice. Yeah. And so we will have your information if someone wants to do that type of work in their home or on their furniture. But it's so good. Like you were saying, you're saving a tree. It has value to the family as it is, and then restoring something that used to be beautiful back to its beauty. It's an amazing gift, and we appreciate that as well. So thank you again. I think we will send out all your information for any questions.
Thank you so much for having me, Silvia.